Welcome to the Infamous Hour. I'm your host, the Inphamus Amadeuz. We are live here on Facebook.com/Boom Bap Nation, and make sure you subscribe to the Roku channel. Roku, I always forget how to say it. We have 50,000 subscribers on there, and we bring in a bunch of dope content here at the Infamous Hour. Boom Bap Nation, officially sponsored by Livecast. We believe in paying homage to the legendary artists of the past, present, and future. When it comes to MCs, Queens, this guy right here is synonymous with spitting bars and laying down dope records. Nature is in the building. What's up?
What's good? What's good, homie? Good to be here.
Nature, you exploded on the scene, but of course, banned from TV has to be, I'm sure you asked this a bunch of times. To jump off a record, I mean, there's a difference between anchoring and jumping off a record. Is the thought process different when you're creating that type of verse? Do you feel maybe a little more pressure when you're going first because it says they came into the song?
No. It would have been different if the song was, if we was all standing side by side, the pressure would have probably been, you know what I mean, out of this world. But I was fortunate enough to hear actually be a part of picking up the beat. So I know that the beat was already in pocket. I could go in pocket with the beat like before anybody else. So by the time you hear it, you're already with me. You're already. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have a chance to experience it the way I heard it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you first. Working with a young Swizz Beatz on Banned from TV. Swizz Beatz ends up becoming a super producer who's relevant even to this day with the verses. What was that like? I mean, just having a record from him and being on Nori's impactful album.
Nah, dope. Shout out to Nori again. Swizz was coming up. You know what I mean? At the time, the Rough Riders was establishing their movement, and it was two producers. It was Swizz and it was Grease, and at the time these guys were like, the guys to get with, and at the time my man Nori was fortunate enough to have a relationship with Swizz and have Swizz come in and play beats, and we was actually able to just pick it from there. Like, you know what I mean? The story was Nori already had the beat planned out for that joint right there. So when I came in there, I guess however it worked out, that's not the beat. Swizz wound up playing some Banned from TV beat, and I knew right then and there, like, yo, I could do some damage to this right here. So, you know what I mean? Nori was like, yo, you sure? I'm like, yeah, let's go. He put it up, and I wrote my verse, and at that time, I guess Nori had to like readjust what he was doing. I didn't know the story was, I guess we was just supposed to do the song together.
Yeah.
Because after I laid my verse, the next time I heard the joint, it was like all-star after all-star after superstar. Like, oh man, let me change my joint. You know what I mean? Let me get a chance to like really gear up. And at that time, they was like, nah, bro, it's mixed already.
It's done.
It's over, bro.
We live in a much different time, Nature, where songs are emailed over. You send a verse over.
Yeah. But that was the beginning of that right there.
But does that annoy you as an MC, as opposed to being in the studio with the artist and the producer and creating together, or do you find it easier because maybe you have more time?
Not really. It all depends. If the artist is making the call, then that means the artist has a genuine love or a genuine respect for another artist. If it's just a business move, you might not. It might be an old guy with a young guy that don't necessarily need to be in the studio together. They don't necessarily have too many things in common, you know what I mean? Other than the music. So if it's somebody that you're looking up to, or somebody that you like, yo, this is a legend, or whoever inspired you, or stuff like that. Of course, any artist would want to be standing next to an artist like that. But like you said, in this day and age, you can email it and it's all good. But if you're like somebody I came up with, if you just somebody that don't do music as much, or somebody that's just not oversaturated, yeah, I can rock with you. You know what I mean? We can rock.
Yeah, we're live right now. Boom Bap Nation. Your host, the Inphamus Amadeuz. This is the Infamous Hour Live, formerly known as Boom Bap Nation Live Interactive Series, powered by Boom Bap Nation and sponsored by Livecast.ca for all your streaming needs. We have the legendary Nature, Queensbridge owned, firm owned. We'll get into that in a little bit. If you want to ask a question, I'm actually scanning the chat, so we'll be asking questions. We are completely live now. Nature, paint Queensbridge for me at this time. And in your opinion, who is credited for popping off the Queensbridge sound? We've heard many different things. I've heard Marley Marr. I've heard people say Tragedy Gaddafi. Who, in your opinion, would be the person that you would say launched the 90s Queensbridge sound?
Oh, the 90s Queensbridge sound? It's kind of hard. You know what I mean? Marley Marl, of course, Marley Marl is a legend, and that's probably the names that you would hear first. But Marley Marl produced and made music for people that was not really from Queensbridge. Like, he created superstars like, you know, the LL Cool J's and the people like that wasn't necessarily from Queensbridge. So I wouldn't really say Marley Marl had a Queensbridge sound, because Marley Marl was just big like that, you know what I'm saying? But that's a hard question, because we all piggybacks and try to be the best of what we could do. It's just that we didn't realize there were so many talented people out there. Like, you know what I mean? It started way before videos, way before the internet. Like, it's hard to say who started it, because, you know, Marley Marl was a name that you probably heard, you know what I mean, first on records like that. But I'm quite sure, like, there's a lot of dudes out there that was probably just as dope and still are, that just never made records, that just keep the legacy alive. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's just a whole bunch of dope way before me. Like, for me, it was like the MC Shins and the people, you know, the people like not only have rhymes, but they had style. Like, MC Shan was the first person I seen that like had mismatched sneakers and big chains and Kango caps. Like,
incorporated fashion into it.
Yeah, they like brought it to life more than just the words. Like, you know what I'm saying? So from then we just all kept going. I was fortunate enough to be able to come outside and see a Cool G rap, or see MC Shan, or see some of the dopest rappers that probably didn't have videos, but the word traveled. So it was just a different kind of game. It's easy right now to just go on YouTube and just, you know, go through the whole catalog of somebody. But back then we bought it, or you just spread the word of just mixtapes, or however, I don't know, you know what I mean? Shout out to the tape, the cassette era. You know what I mean? It was dope. That was the demos. That was it.
Yeah. I think we actually have a fan question. Vince, do we have someone?
Let's do it.
Vince. All right, DJ Drew, you're back here on the Infamous Hour. We have Nature, legendary Queensbridge artist. Do you have a question?
DJ Drew, what up, boy?
What up, Nature? Yes. What's up, Nature? So recently Nas has dropped, I guess he's dropping it tonight, The King's
Holy
Disease.
shit.
And I heard exactly that, you know, the firm is on this album. My question to you, man, is will we be seeing the firm get back together to do another banging album? I don't know if you could answer that for me right now.
I can't answer that question. No, I can't answer that question at all. You and a million other people probably want to know that question, if it's even possible and stuff like that. But as of right now, I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I think, you know, hip hop needs it, but, you know, any talks or anything, any kind of you know, phone calls being made, talking to each other.
No.
So okay, let me ask
something
you
like that. I think if something like that was to happen, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Yeah,
yeah, I can hear you.
If something like that was to happen, first and foremost, I would assume that Nas would put that into the universe for the people to gravitate towards it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think any other artist that would be involved in it would, you know what I mean, overstep the boundaries of, you know, that's Nas's project right there. That's Nas's thing. You know what I mean?
That's his baby. That's his group that he created. All right, so one more question. How was it working with the rest of the firm again, with this new track that's on Nas's album?
Brother, I don't know if you can see, but there's a track list out for this album, and there's a song with the firm. And if you look at it closely, I'm not involved on that song. I'm not even on the song.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get a chance. I just heard the rumor that there was a track with the firm on it, so I just assume
Nah, I'm sure there's. Yeah, nah, I'm not on the song, brother. If you look, you know what I mean.
So I
That's
probably,
cool that you even in tune with what's going on like that. But you know, do your homework or pay attention before you even ask that question, because right now the thousands of people, whoever's watching this right now, is probably saying to themselves, "Why would you ask that question, knowing that he's not even on that song?" But you know, it's all cool
I
though,
didn't.
brother.
I didn't know that because the track listing hasn't come out because the album drops at 12. All we know is they said the firm is
it
on the
has come
album.
out.
So the firm, Nature, AZ, Foxy Brown, Nas, and Dr. Dre.
Drew, thank you for your question. Thank you. We're live right now. Boom Bap Nation, live in record. Nature, in all fairness, he does have a little point, because not many people who are fans are invested into Instagram in a sense, right? So it's like a lot of people are still Facebook 90s fans. So when you hear a firm record and he jumped the gun, you would assume,
but where would you hear that at?
That you would be on it.
No, where would you hear there's a firm song, or where would you hear that there's a Nas album other than, you know, back in the days, I keep saying back in the days, we had books. We used to have The Source, and we used to read when dudes were coming out and be open. I'm sure you know what I mean? So how would you know that there is a song in existence unless somebody told you, but didn't tell you the full deal? Like they didn't. Even if it is a big deal, I don't even understand. First and foremost, I don't even understand why it's even a question. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I'm 100% with you. I'm only saying from the fans' perspective, we do have like this promo going around, and there are chatters. But I mean, let's go
so
back.
now he understands though. So now that's what this is about, right? You learn something new every day, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you got to do your homework before you ask the legend.
Stay in school, fool. Nah.
you gotta ask. So we had the fall seasons project. Your first single. I mean, you came out blazing. But before any of this, we saw you on the Omar Epps movie. I think LL was in that movie. Was it? He had the title track with Nas. The
In Too Deep
track. So I mean, being placed on a soundtrack, I mean that got to be super dope. I mean, that's almost like video game residuals type of thing. What did that mean to get placed in a film that had Omar Epps? He was super hot at that time, and of course, LL was catapulting as an actor. So what did that kind of do for your career being placed there?
I mean, that's dope. I mean, anytime, like I said, man, coming up for me, it was just like we had these underground songs, but then now we get a chance to be a part of a soundtrack. Thanks to Track Masters and Columbia and the whole situation like that, they had situations that would just fall in their lap. So we would make records and deliver them, and I didn't know that they were gonna, be a main part of the soundtrack and stuff like that. But rhyming next to Nas at that time, it was all part of shaping who I was supposed to be as an artist. Like, I'm the guy right there. So why not throw him on the soundtrack too? You know what I mean? It's dope to be. Not only be on a soundtrack in the movie, but to hear parts of your song play in the movie is like dope to me. So I was just riding the wave. It was crazy.
Yeah, being from Queensbridge, so many amazing MCs. I mean, obviously we know Nas, Prodigy, but we also got Capone. We got you. Were there any like friendly? Nori, with any like friendly competitiveness between you guys? Like you hear like a Capone verse, like, oh, he got a dope verse. Now I gotta step my pen game up. Any type of like friendly competition?
No, I mean with Capone, everybody knows the Capone and Noriega story, and Capone having to go to jail and things like that. But it's different ages, different blocks. Queensbridge is like its own little mini city. So on each little part is everybody doing their own little thing. You might have there's so many rappers outside of the Nas's and the Mobb Deeps and the people like that. You have the Tragedies and the Core Megas, and everybody had their own little story. So I unless you was actually fortunate enough to be in their face to hear live rap and be inspired that way, it's all about who can get to who to record it. See, we didn't have too many outlets to record it, so we either had to, if you were big enough to get to Marley Marl, very few could get to Marley Marl. We had to have the next in command, which was like a DJ Hot Day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, DJ Hot Day would come around and, you know, he was a DJ for my man Poet, and he, you know, they made beats and stuff like that, and they recorded Cormega and stuff like that. And after that, if you couldn't get to Hot Day, you had to get to like DJ LES. So it was like different blocks. You could get in different zones and stuff like that, but you always heard of, you know, a dope Nas verse, or you always heard of, you know, Traj was rapping probably before all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we knew what each other could do. So I'm quite sure we was all inspired. It was just that everybody didn't hang together. So I wouldn't know, you know, I wouldn't know stuff like that. I was the, like one of the last of all of those guys to like come around and start doing my thing like that. But, you know, like Traj had a mixtape way before it was even a mixtape, like before his name was even Traj. Like, you know,
Intelligent Hoodlum.
Yeah, Intelligent Hoodlum. Like, you know the story, Havoc, Prodigy, rest in peace. You know, it's so many different stories intertwined into one. So it's like, yo, it's kind of crazy. It's dope. It's dope to just know that so many people can do it and been doing it and still to this day, you know what I mean? So much potential out there. We just lost another dope MC, rest in peace, King Shooter. You know, there's so many people out there, and it's crazy. It's never going to stop. There's something about that project right there, but
it just keeps going. We're live right now on the infamous hour here on Boom Bap Nation Facebook. I'm scanning the chat, looking for questions. We have legendary Queensbridge.
Come on. Let's go. Ask us some questions, y'all.
In the building, Nature. One of the things that I saw in the chat while we were having the mysterious question that we were being asked by a fan, but somebody was asking about female MCs in Queensbridge. We had Roxanne Shante, obviously, and we had a whole bunch of male MCs. Were there any female MCs that maybe we didn't hear about that didn't get a chance to shine, or maybe like some behind the scenes things? Because we got a whole bunch of males, but why didn't we get any females?
I mean, I'm sure that there are some, and there always was some, but it's just so many males. You got to remember in Queensbridge. Like I said before, it was just those outlets right there, and it's just so much harder for a girl MC.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? No matter whether if you're from Queensbridge or not, like that talent has to really like be there. And not to say that they're not there, but I don't know. I don't know why it hasn't been that many, but I guess it's just so many dudes, man. It was 96 buildings, a lot of dudes, a lot of rappers, ball players, thugs, all kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to deal with a lot of the stuff that comes with it.
With the politics, in a sense.
Yeah.
With hood politics. For people watching right now who are not from New York, there's a lot of people watching right now on Facebook. Paint the picture for Queensbridge. Queensbridge is the largest housing projects in New York City. A bunch of buildings. It's literally right across from Manhattan, and we also have Roosevelt Island in the middle. So if you could just give like the layout and the construction of how Queensbridge is constructed, and then where rappers are from within the complex.
Queensbridge is 6 blocks. You always have, it's a 40th side and a 41st side. So it's like for every, it's like a 40th side and a 41st side of every block. So there's a 10th Street, 12th Street, Vernon, right? Not in that order, 12th Street, whatever. Mm-hmm. Those 3 blocks, and there's a 40th side of 10th Street and a 41st side of 10th Street. Just like that. So there's 6 blocks, and inside of those blocks, there's probably about 15, 16 buildings. Some of the blocks have a couple more. They're not even. They don't all have the same amount of buildings per block. Some blocks have 1 or 2 buildings, just more, whatever. But and there's just, at the time, still a lot of people. It's still crazy, but at the time, it just seemed like it was more coming up. It was just, we lost a lot of people. A lot of people went to jail. A lot of people gave up their dreams or whatever. But on one side of the project, on 12th Street side, there was, that's like the Mobb Deep side. Marley Marl comes from that side. It's like not every block in the projects has a basketball court. Some blocks have basketball courts, some don't.
People come to the court and come.
Yeah, come to the court, and it's just like a mini city. It's kind of hard to describe. You actually have to see it, even though you see videos for years. I just don't like everything to be portrayed as in a negative all the time. Like, you know what I mean? It's a lot of beautiful souls in the projects. It's its own thing. You got to experience it. You have to live there to know that, my neighbors are right here. Like, everybody has neighbors, but to know your neighbors are right here. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, it's crazy.
Was there a sense of community in Queensbridge? I mean, I could imagine you guys have like a little city over there. I'm from Uptown, so Uptown we had a sense of community. Did you guys actually have that type of neighbor? Everybody knew.
No, we rep our hood. We rep our hood. You know what I mean? Everybody rep our hood. We're it's to the point whereas I don't necessarily have to speak to you. It's been a lot of situations where dudes probably didn't speak to each other on the street or have nothing to say or even be warring with each other, but then let it be a situation where they're incarcerated or somewhere where they're in need, but that Queensbridge flag go up and it's always been unity. It's always been like that. It's always like, you know what I mean? Right now, it's a little bit different because people are influenced by so much of what they see on the internet and on TV. But before, it was like, firsthand, the OGs would show you what to do, what not to do. You would get reprimand. You know what I mean? You learn like firsthand. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or
in the conversation, you mentioned King Shooter.
Where from?
I'm from the Bronx, so I'm from Kingsbridge, but I spent a lot of time like all over
Queensbridge. So you seen this hat right there, you probably was like, I wish that said Kingsbridge.
Well, being from the Bronx, though, us in the Bronx, we felt such a connection to Queensbridge. And if you listen to Big Pun's album, it was a direct derivative of the sound that we were hearing from Queensbridge. Super dope beats and samples and things like that. But you mentioned King Shooter, and I actually knew King Shooter. He represented the new wave of what Queens was going to become. Obviously, he was around Davies. People. He was like Davies' best friend. What would you think, though, in general, would be the new Queensbridge sound? Are guys at Queensbridge embracing the quote unquote trap sound, or do we still have an OD to the Mobb Deep nature, that type of thing?
I don't know, man.
In your opinion,
the young guys is gonna roll with what's rolling, slapping. Like there's a lot of influence on that sound, that trap sound, and
drill,
like some people like to dance. Like even rest in peace, Pop Smoke. They're not afraid to express themselves in certain ways, and I'm not mad at them. You know what I mean? With maybe the OGs learn something from the young heads too, learning like, you didn't gotta post up so hard, you didn't gotta be so hard on yourself. This is a fun, this is entertainment and stuff like that. But a lot of that sound right there, they it's a wave. It's like I respect creativity. I respect originality. But you still can't be too far from everything else. You got to find your lane in it, and a lot of these guys are trying to find their lane. At least looks like it. They're trying to stay active. You know what I mean? But
as they should, because
you know what I mean. But it's not like Queensbridge is like so many dope MCs and so many rappers, so much of a legacy. It's not like dudes have enough time to come back and have spend enough time to kind of like guide. Dudes don't have time to just be guidance counselors and all that. Like you gotta.
In your opinion, though, and not to get too much into political stuff, because here at Inphamus Hour, we don't really like to get so political, but we had such a wave of Queensbridge MCs, and then it slowly kind of just went away. What do you think? What do you think that attributed to? Maybe not the artists not embracing the new sound, quote unquote, auto tune hit, or why do you think it kind of just? I mean, because at one point, all the hot rappers in New York were from one block. So where do you think that kind of went?
Oh, that's a question right there.
I mean, just in your opinion, like what I mean, at one time we literally had if we had the top 20 rappers in New York, you could easily think of 11 to 12 that were from the same block, and then it just kind of just went away. So why do you think that?
I think it was a lot of too many instances where there was too many instances where things that could have been handled privately were held publicly, and too many spectators were interfering with what that bridge right there. It was too many things going on where it wasn't pure enough. Like, it's different when you see unity and you show unity. It's different when you preach it and when you show certain things. There's so many leaders, quote unquote, that come from Queensbridge that never really did a lot of that work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like bridging the gap type of thing, keeping it together. We're live right now, Boom Bap Nation. I'm your host, Inphamus Amadeuz. This is the Inphamus Hour here on Boom Bap Nation every single Thursday, 9 p.m. And of course, we're live on FM radio, multiple platforms. Nature, a lot of people were asking, what is Nature's top 5 MCs of all time? Just, no particular order. The fans kind of want to know.
Top MCs?
Top 5 MCs dead or alive, no particular order.
Ice Cube.
Wow, that's a good one.
LL Cool J.
LL. So we got Ice Cube, LL, Nas, of course.
Big.
That's 4.
And
this is a solid list, by the way. I mean, super solid. Round of applause.
Damn.
This is solid.
That last one, I don't want to be like, why mess it up? The last one would probably be. I can't put myself on there?
You could, of course.
And me, baby.
Nature. Now, Nature, real quick, I find it very interesting because I talk about this a lot. You included Ice Cube in your top 5 list. I asked Daz Dillinger last week. He has a new album coming up with Capone. Why don't we have more top 5 MCs from the West Coast, including the top 5 conversation? You always have the same guys: Nas, Big, Pac, but he's really from the East Coast. Why do you think?
I didn't really want to say Big and yeah, I don't really want to say.
Just in your opinion, why do you think West Coast MCs don't get the same recognition when it comes to lyricism as much as East Coast MCs do?
I don't judge it as so much from a lyrical standpoint, because there's so many dope lyricists from the East Coast, from the West Coast, South, everywhere, right? But for me to put Ice Cube in there, for me, it's like Ice Cube at a time, it's significant for me when rap was changing. It was just like a breath of fresh air from something different. It was gangster. It was intelligent. It was storytelling. And for me, it was a moment in time for me where that's where I was, I I felt it. It wasn't just like a couple of rhymes that I judged or how dope your rhyme was. It was more like the whole element of Ice Cube being down with NWA, leaving NWA, them dissing him, he's dissing them, he's coming over here, he's blowing up, getting with you know what I'm saying? He's getting with producers over here. His sound is crazy. It's just like, and I guess for me in the age group I was, that was like sank in like that. Like from right now, that it might be the same way for somebody that's young, that's like listening to Roddy Ricch or The Baby or something like that. But at the time, like that was when rap was like really like, oh my God.
Well, it was
like,
competitive. You actually had to rap, and if you wasn't nice, you couldn't get on. So you burst onto the scene 96, 97 with the Firm. What was the concept behind the original Firm project? We obviously heard a dose of it on It Was Written, and then we had this, dope project that came out with Firm Biz and Phone Tap.
It was. What you asked me?
What was the concept behind the Firm actual album? Because we had a taste.
I guess it was just really family, like some dope rappers, different boroughs. Like I said before, it's all was and all is still Nas's call. Like as far as the shaping of that, but I think that it was a problem with that from the beginning due to the fact that the labels and the way that it was structured, that it couldn't be the way that it was envisioned.
Yeah, the contract.
The contract. It was the Firm was released on Interscope Records. Meanwhile, all the participants are signed to different labels, like, Nas with Columbia and everybody else somewhere else. And the label's saying that, hey, you guys can't record a whole album and give it to someone else you only can be on a certain amount of songs. You only can be on a certain amount of songs. You only can be on a certain amount of songs. And meanwhile, the dude over here that's not really signed could kind of fill in the gaps for everything. Yeah. So that's why it couldn't really be the way that, you know what I mean? You couldn't be involved in it.
Why we heard you mostly. I mean, you had the most.
And that's why.
We had the most appearances. Now, was Dr. Dre involved in this in any sort of way in the Firm? Because it was promoted that way to the public. Obviously, we didn't have social media, but was he hands-on with this? Was he like the overseer of the whole project?
Yeah, Dre was there with us. Dre was there every night with us. You know what I mean? Dre was dope. Dre coming in during right after the whole East Coast West Coast joint, that whole how that went, and we just vibed out. Dre had a whole team, that was the first time I seen like music being made and being orchestrated, and not just somebody pressing some beats and y'all just vibing out over the drums, like people coming in here playing live instruments and singing, and it came together like it come together
like on some justice, like really
so it's my first time actually being around that, and Dre just once you see something like that, you ain't gonna never forget it, especially if that's what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it kind of makes sense, and I mean the album bursted on to the scene with such momentum, and then it kind of catapulted to your album and what you did with Nori and just your mixtape scene. I mean, you destroyed the mixtape game. But obviously, we have this new Nas album, and the fans are asking, and the other guy jumped the gun a little bit. But so we have this new Nas album coming up, and we have what will be quoted as a Firm record, but obviously Nature is not on it. Was it just like your decision? Just, it's just the way kind of things played out. Because originally, Cormega was obviously in the Firm with them, the Firm record, and then you replaced him. Obviously, he just went super independent. So why isn't Nature on this record? And of course, I'm sure your blessing is to what the fans are gonna hear.
That's not my call. This is a Nas album. This is his call. You know what I mean? This came under the radar for a lot of people. Like, it's a new album, and and the focus shouldn't be why Nature isn't on this album. Is congratulations to the homie that's still putting out music after 20 years, and it's his call. I wasn't involved when the firm was originally even thought of, so to even be involved in anything firm related is a blessing. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to my dude Cormega for being a part of it. For overcoming his differences, for them overcoming their differences and making music and putting it past it, because that's what it was always about from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So whether I'm involved or not, I'm proud to see my brothers win. It's a win-win situation. It can never be a loss. You know what I mean? We're good. I record. My family's good. Life is good. We still looking young. You know what I mean? We out here. You know what I mean? So it was never my call. So if he wanted to put 2-3 other dudes that you never even heard of from down south instead of the people that you're expecting to hear and call it the firm, it's his choice. You know what I'm saying? The people are gonna ask their questions, and your guess is as good as mine when it comes down to it. You know what I mean? I hope that it can turn into something, because what happened was it fizzled out so fast that the people in the beginning, that the people didn't get a chance to really grasp it and absorb it the way that we only made one album together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it didn't really have, would have had one single.
Well, 3.
Right?
I would say 3. You had Firm Biz. You had a Phone Tap. And in my opinion, 5 Minutes to Flush would have been a single as well.
Yeah, would have been a single. Everybody's opinion, but
yeah, I mean,
whatever.
As a Flush was just as relevant as the other records. I mean, that would have been the quote unquote B-side single, which was your record, which was super dope, by the way. Gunshot for that.
Thank you, bro. Everybody got their opinion on how it could have, what it should have, but at the end of the day, like I said, people didn't really it didn't stick around long enough for it to, everybody didn't really know what it was. And so right now, it's only one song. It's not like he's releasing the whole thing, even if he was, you know what I mean? And I didn't get the call. People are going to still wonder how I feel about it. They want to know whatever, because they haven't been in tune with me or any of the music that I've released over the years and stuff like that. They'll see that that's not something that we hold on to. That's part of my resume. That's a part of how I got into the game. These are the kings.
And you've been active. Like, it's not like you disappeared. You've been active this whole time.
Of course. You know what I mean? So like I said, I'm over here from the sidelines too, waving another victory for the team. And you know what I mean? Hopefully it's not a blatant attempt to kind of like disregard me or whatever. You can't erase history, because whether you love me or whether you hate me, I was there, we was there. You know what I mean? We all attached to the same thing. And over the years, you watch some of these groups come together. Some actually toured and made some money together. It'll be dope.
Yeah.
But I ain't get the call, so I'm chilling. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm waiting like the rest of the world tomorrow. You know what I mean? King's Disease. Go get that Queensbridge legacy. I'm a part of something bigger than that.
Yeah, Queensbridge. For me personally, it just kind of feels like an affirmative action too. I think people are just blowing it, out of proportion because they just see whatever's on social media and they post it because they think it looks cool. Like, it's just,
it got to count. It's a strategic moves, man. You gotta think like that. You gotta think of, because we're older. We're not like in the clubs, and everybody's been in the crib for the past couple of months dealing with this corona. Yeah, it's different. We're in a different time, so it has to make sense. It has to have a big impact. And right there, you know what I mean. We was the biggest and probably still is the biggest and dopest MCs that, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
No. Collectively, yeah, you know what it is.
No, collectively. So Nature, you mentioned quickly about we quickly spoke about catalogs after whatever the boom bap era died, or whatever the people want to say in mainstream. And I spoke to Busy Bone about this, and I've asked Cool G Rap and every person that I've had on here, from Onyx to Naughty by Nature, The same question I want to ask you. Where does the lyricist play in 2020? Obviously, now it's more direct to consumer, so you can get to your fans directly. But you know, the people watching right now come from an era where it was mass marketed to them, the same way Cardi B is mass marketed. So, where does the lyricist play in 2020 and beyond?
It's a confusing game. You have to find a lyricist has to be true to themselves. You know what I mean? When you're a lyricist, sometimes it's like unknowingly you just put together the words. You know, the words they form. You know what I mean? That's just what they do. But rhythms and vibes and you know what I mean, certain things change. So you have to learn how to create and still be relevant. You gotta still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because every song that plays in the club is not necessarily the song that you want to hear on a day-to-day basis and stuff like that. You gotta understand energy and moods and things like that. So there's dudes out there getting over just because they yell, you know, or things like that. You know what I mean? It's just different, man. But a true lyricist is gonna find a way to get it in, like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just getting with these new producers, these new sounds, there's some dude right now that's like 18, 19 years old in this room going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Making the new. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The fans are asking, obviously, do we have a new Nature album or project coming?
Yeah, we got a bunch of things coming out. You know, this right here makes the 20-year anniversary for my first album too, like for all seasons. So I was trying to put together something nice, whether it be in the form of an EP or a mixtape for the people that have been riding with me from the beginning. This year's been kind of crazy as far as the beginning of the year and everything just getting back on track. But like you see right now, yeah, it's been weird. But we in the studio.
Shut down. It's just like, Jesus.
Yeah. So everybody's trying to create a wave. You know what I mean? Shout out to the people that do get through on the radio, but you know, there's a ton of things out there that I'm sure everybody's trying to sit there and work on some masterpiece, like you know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody's cooking up. Final two questions. People were asking about the "I'm Leaving" track.
I'm leaving, yeah.
I mean, obviously you came guns blazing, and Nori was so hot at this time. Like he just came smoking. I mean,
I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Actually, was the prequel to Banned from TV. That's how that whole thing, like, you know, you let him explain it too. Yeah. That's, you know, because he wasn't gung ho. And so I guess, and that was a firm record. And like you said, like, I didn't have to give him the green light to be on that record. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He was, you know how that whole thing went. And so when he got the opportunity to shine with Banned from TV, we let it rock. And so like that formed a brotherhood from the beginning.
Yes, and Nori came out gun smoking. Obviously, we had the War Report, which was, you know, War Report is my favorite album of all time. It felt organic. I mean, obviously, people say Illmatic. You know, I mean, your album. I mean, there's a bunch of albums we could pick out. The Inphamus album, the organic feel from Queensbridge. You know, what do you think Nature's legacy and Queensbridge legacy 2020 and beyond will be? When it's all said and done, like when it's all said and done, and just
when it's all said and done, it's gonna be like those were some really dope people, some real creative people that just rose from the concrete. They just like roses out of the concrete. Like, I don't know, man. It's just like consistency, some dope hip hop, some pure hip hop. Like right now, that's why when they hear this new music that we about to drop, it's gonna be like a breath of fresh air, because you know right away, like music that you grew up on, music that you long for, that you don't get to hear like that. Shout out to everything that's pumping on the radio, but you know, I don't know how old you are, but if you came from that era, like I said, when we got mixtapes and we used to actually check for certain artists. We would go actually checking. Yeah,
I'm 37, so I remember.
Yeah, we checking for them. We go get a mixtape and buy it just because one name is on it, like for one song. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you know, it's that same vibe.
You know, I'm a DJ and I do my due diligence, obviously, by doing these type of things. Do you think DJs make a mistake by not tapping into all the new music. It's almost like, all right, well, we understand terrestrial radio doesn't really matter anymore. You can go to Spotify. I mean, how many times do you go in the car and put on, whatever station? So are DJs not doing the right thing by showing love to every single artist? And in all fairness, the people that run this industry are our age. So you think they're making a mistake by doing that and only tapping into one culture instead of tapping into
No, they're gonna it's a constantly changing business. Everybody wants to be involved in whatever the new wave is, the new sound is, but there's so many different artists, and it's too hard to tell some of these young artists no, and it's too hard to even decipher of what's going to be a hit, because some of the things that we might not necessarily love, they're going crazy for somewhere else. So, a good record's going to shine, but it's all about how an artist, if a true DJ is playing music for the love of it, or if a DJ is actually trying to eat off of it. So, you have to be connected to, wherever the new stream of music is coming from, whether you get it from a record label. Back in the days, we had Clue. Clue used to walk through Queensbridge projects and get music from artists, like hand pick them, like
literally.
Yo, you seen Havoc? Yo, you seen Tragedy? Yo, you seen Nature? Like walking like car parked and get it like that, like, and always be having the new music. So it's like some people, it's different types of DJs. But it's like if you want to just DJ the club, you want to, or you're trying to DJ to make
Clue still uses that same formula. Because he plays a lot of records that you just never heard before. So it's just... Because
some of them was never records, bro. Like,
Like never, yeah. No, he would play like you just recorded in your grandmother's basement. And he's like...
Yeah, now it's out there. Boom, on the radio. That's how we did it.
And now it's a record. So Nature, so we have a new project coming out. When are we expecting this new project?
I got a bunch of new projects coming out. Like I said, you can look out for the For All Seasons 20-year anniversary. I've been working. I got a couple EPs with some artists on the come up. I'm working closely with like my dude Large Amount.
Oh, shout out Large Amount, D Block. That's my guy. My peoples.
Yeah, he actually got a new album out. And they're promoting it right now. Dharma.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to stay close to the streets, trying to stay connected with some dope MCs. Trying to get these new concepts going on, like. Like the whole world is changing. And for me, it's like working on an album. I'm a family man. I'm putting together a wedding. I'm actually have a daughter that's in college. I have so many different things, so many on top of all of this COVID and this new world that's going on. So
and dealing with being an artist
and being an artist,
you have to drop way more than you guys did before.
Yeah, so it's kind of, you just be in so many different zones, 1 foot over here, 1 foot over here, 1 foot over here. But if one thing is certain, these bars and this music will never change, you know what I mean? And like I said, every time an artist from back in the days or from the hood or something that I'm connected to drops, it's still like part I drop, because I'm still doing interviews, I'm still promoting, I'm still showing people that, we're still connected. It's still all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This album came out. I'm not on the song. I don't know what the plans are for the future or whatever, but everybody's still within arm's reach, and we're still part of the cause. So, you know what I mean?
It'll go down. Nature, thank you for coming to the Inphamus Hour. I'm your host, Inphamus Amadeuz. Make sure you tune in.
You got to do the next one inside the studio. You got to come down here.
Oh no,
some of the joints that we do.
The next one. Whenever you're ready, I'll come down. Shout out to Deep Concepts Media. My guy Josh, he's doing something amazing over there by showing light to these artists that are still super relevant. I'm your host, Inphamus Amadeuz. Make sure you listen to me on Shade 45, Sirius XM every single Thursday at 3 p.m. And of course, I'm live here on Boom Bap Nation. .com, Rokio, and of course Facebook. Next week we have the legendary Goody Mob. I mean, come on, we talk about CeeLo's gonna be on Facebook, and then Labor Day weekend I'm working on something special. Might do some R&B type of thing. Nature, real quick before we get out of here, social media in case they want to follow you.
The Real Nature, one word, TheRealNature. The Real Nature. Twitter, Instagram, you know what I mean? Try to get with me, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get into this new world, like, you know what I mean? Connect with people more and let them know that it's all right to smile and be themselves. But man, if you want to get with some dope MCs, Queensbridge finest, and know what it is, get at me, the real nature, boy.
And of course, I'm the Inphamus Amadeuz. You can follow me at the Inphamus Amadeuz. Make sure you follow at Boom Bap Nation, surpassing 1 million followers here on Facebook and 130 something now on Instagram. And of course, the Inphamus Hour. And of course, I'll follow our official sponsor, Livecast. Till next time, stay COVID-19 and stay blessed and safe.